Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to go over this because in my last video I had mentioned to you that the guy from CNBC Crypto, he had mentioned that he was going to announce that Coinbase was going to go public. I'm going to drink some coffee. This is my second time doing this video because I discovered something that I needed to redo. I'm sorry. One sip of cinnamon coffee, and yes, I'm still drinking my coffee. I think I'm on my second cup right now. Okay, so Coinbase has officially announced through AMB Crypto that they are going public, and I wanted I want to keep making this point. This is where the rubber meets the road, because this is where you start to see the complete legitimization of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. Because you're going to see, you know how when a company goes public, they ring the bell. You'll see them hitting the hammer on CNBC. I believe it's to either ring it in or ring it out. I can't remember. But anyway, when this starts being seen by the traditional finance and the average investors who are watching CNBC every day, get ready, because this is where this is the beginnings of those Super Bowl commercials that you will be seeing. I believe you'll start to see digital asset Super Bowl commercials this year, and then next year you will probably by next year's Super Bowl, you will be inundated with digital asset Super Bowl commercials. That's my prediction. But I wanted to mention one other thing that this article says. I've said many times that I think that Ripple and Ripple's executives as well, Ripple will be one of the first ever trillion-dollar companies in the United States, at least. It will probably be the wealthiest company in the history of the world before this is all said and done. I went down here to the bottom of this article, and they were quoting Adam Draper, who's one of the initial investors in Coinbase. He says, "I honestly believe Coinbase will be one of the first 10 companies to reach $1 trillion valuation." So let that sink in, because I believe, really, if you want to, in the digital asset space, Ripple and Coinbase are really the top dogs from what I can tell. And so, yeah, I think Coinbase will be $1 trillion, but I think Ripple's probably going to hit it before they do, because I think we're going to hit the bull run of bull runs soon before we ever see Coinbase go public. So next, moving along, this is something that I needed to cover, even though he didn't necessarily say something that was huge positive for right now. I wanted to make a point. The Visa CEO says that they may move to adopt crypto assets. Well, what he was really saying was that if they see things moving in the direction of crypto, they will go there. And I wanted to move along here and make a point. He was being interviewed by Jim Cramer on CNBC. He says, certainly not in the short term, in the short to medium term in any way, as I think that the market needs to actually believe that crypto is moving from being a commodity to really being a payment instrument. There also needs to be a market so that it can become somewhat like a fiat currency in order for us to be comfortable with it. Now, when I see him say needs to be a market, all of that is backed coming in, Fidelity digital assets coming in, and they're becoming an actual ton of liquidity. And once that happens, everything will begin to happen. It is happening. We know it's coming. So there you go. In other words, that's just like saying the market's very mature now, but yeah, it's going to be used. But here it says, he says in this quote, if we have to go there to cryptocurrency, we will go there. But right now, it's more of a commodity than a payment vehicle. Well, not XRP. XRP is a payment vehicle. But the point I want to make before I leave this is I want to make this point. If I've learned anything from reading about what these CEOs of all these big companies and big financial companies, if I've learned any one thing, is how measured they are in the things they say in public. And so if they say one thing, then you better believe that it's further along than the statement, because they have to be measured in the places of responsibility that they are. But the digital asset investor does not have to be so measured. And so what I'm going to tell you is, if this guy is saying, if we have to go to cryptocurrency, we will go there. But right now, it's more of a commodity than a payment vehicle. This guy knows XRP is no commodity. This guy knows that XRP is being used for settlement. Make no mistake. So if he's saying this, they're already working on it. Okay, next, I wanted to make another huge point. Okay, many of you, I've told many of you, but there's new subscribers every day, so I'm sorry that I have to repeat myself, but I'm going to repeat it again. I was a financial advisor for Morgan Stanley back in the day. I am no longer a financial advisor. I'm the digital asset investor now. So, but what I wanted to say is, I've told this audience many, many times that financial advisors, I've described what they do because I was trained to be one. What they do is they go in and they look at a potential client's or a customer's assets, and they look at their risk tolerance based on various things, such as their age, their stage of life, where they are in their working life, and how much money they make, all of the things that you would use in assessing someone's risk. And then they put together a potential portfolio, which is based on investing in things that are percentage allocated. They allocate those assets on a percentage basis into those assets based on the risk tolerance. So the younger you are, if you've just started working and you're making money, you would be way towards the riskier side. You would be invested in a higher percentage in, say, growth stocks or aggressive growth stocks. Whereas someone who's closer to retirement would have a heavier weight towards less risky assets, such as bonds and things like that. Well, this right here, this guy works at Bitwise Investments. Let's see the exact name of the company. Bitwise Asset Management is what they call themselves. And really, they're just an asset management company, and I'll show you what they are. They have these funds right now. So, as I've told my audience before, financial advisors, and there's a reason that this company's doing this. What this company's doing, and let me read to you what he says here. Financial advisors manage trillions of dollars for a range of investors and are facing two problems with crypto. 80% of clients want crypto. 60% of financial advisors need more education. That's why we're launching Bitwise Advisors. And there's a third part of this that I tell you all the time. The financial advisors need to know how they're going to get paid. And I'm sure that all of those things, as I've told you, Wall Street's coming, BAC's coming for Fidelity Digital Assets is coming. All of these things are coming. In conjunction with that, this is what's being done behind the scenes. These financial advisors are being educated on these products. And you better believe they're being told how they're going to get paid on these products, more importantly. So, this is one asset management company. Now, I've told you before, when I was a financial advisor, what they would do is you would have someone, and I've already predicted this is going to happen. It's already happening, I'm sure, by now. But what you will literally see, all kinds of very well done pamphlets that these guys, they're going to bring donuts to, and this is what they used to do when I was a financial advisor. You would have a meeting in the morning, and an asset management company, a traditional asset man. When I was a financial advisor, it'd be like somebody like a ProShares or Benjamin Franklin or these type of companies would come in, and it would be a salesman for that company. And what he's doing is he's coming in and he's presenting a new mutual fund or a new ETF or whatever to the group of financial advisors. And he's providing them donuts, and then he tells them what this fund is about. It might be an aggressive growth fund that includes the top 10 aggressive growth stocks in the S&P 500 or whatever. Who knows? But he brings the donuts, and at the end, he tells those financial advisors what they really want to know is how are you going to get paid? And there's various different ways they get paid. Well, what Bitwise is doing, and you're seeing the first wave of all of this, they know that it's a smart thing. Bitwise is an asset manager, a crypto asset manager. They're an asset manager just like a ProShares would be, or a Spider. I believe Spider is an ETF fund group. They're doing the same thing, but they know that first they need to educate financial advisors. They know that they've got the demand. 80% of clients want crypto. And now they need to they need to do two things. They need to explain everything I just said to the financial advisors, and then they need to tell them how they're going to get paid. And they also need to have backed and Fidelity digital assets. They need to have the infrastructure which is being formed right now. And so it's all coming together. And when I saw this guy who works for Bitwise in the asset management company, you can see I've been telling you all year, the formation of this market. And when the formation of the market, that's just like saying the formation of trillions of dollars coming. Because I've told you before, every financial advisor in the world, including institutional financial advisors, or the guy that runs the endowment at Yale, he's a financial advisor too. He's advising Yale on what to invest in. There's a reason he's parked, I think it was $400 million in digital assets. It's all happening right before our eyes. I wanted to finish, if I can find, actually, there was a guy, I wanted to read this to you. There was a guy that sent me an email, and he said that the other day I talked about the Grayscale's funds, and he said that he got an email from a financial advisor. I don't know if he emailed the guy about the Grayscale after I said that or what, but he said he got an interesting email from a financial advisor today based on Grayscale offerings. He said, it's interesting, the financial advisor was concerned that the firm was quite conservative and probably not ready to take on the risk. All the recent institutional activity probably changed that. Take a look at this. It appears that this was the fund that you can invest from Grayscale. It's called the DLC fund. And you could invest in that, and it would through that investment, you would be able to invest in, I believe it was Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, XRP, Litecoin, and I may have missed one. But that was the one I wanted to get in, but I couldn't get into it through my IRA. But he said that here's what he said. This guy said about it. Appears the DLC fund can only be purchased by accredited investors bought directly from Grayscale. The fund shares are not slated to go public until after 1 year. The inception date was February 1st, 2018. The GBTC, which is the one the DAI I bought, the GBTC is restricted from trading and not available for purchase currently by the financial advisor. It is one of the number of crypto and blockchain related securities restricted for trading, is what he says. They are looking at alternative accounts to invest in crypto. Their policy does not specifically state they can purchase crypto while also preventing them from purchasing it if clients initiate the conversation and request for it to happen. And then he says, they are beginning to realize that not addressing the requests of clients, then someone else could service it. And he says, FOMO is setting in. And so this is kind of what I've been saying all along. These financial firms are not, they smell the money and they know what their clients are screaming at them, and they will not be denied. And in the next huge bull run, you're really going to see these guys jumping in, because I think they're figuring out the plan right behind the scenes right now. Another thing I got an email on that just by coincidence, I saw this morning, and it was addressed by Corey Johnson. And I don't have the guy, if you're listening, I don't have your email in front of me, or I would read it. But I'm talking to you now. You had asked me, you said that your big concern was what Ripple had in escrow, and that they could sell it in a bull market. They might sell a lot of it. Well, Corey Johnson from Ripple addressed this in a tweet right here, and it's right in the Q3 report. So I'm not going to go into all the numbers. Bottom line is that the volume of sales is very minuscule compared to the XRP that is out in the market, but they show you that. But what he said is, Some used to talk about Ripple's large XRP position as a market concern, but I think our cryptographic escrow is working to assuage those worries. Check it out. And he linked, and he's got this funny thing from Al Gore when he was talking about his lockbox back in the 90s, for those of you that are old enough to remember, like me. But anyway, he links to their Q3 report. They address this exact issue, this escrow issue. They've got the numbers. They've put they've got a chart here, and there was a percentage. I think that they refer to the escrow sales as the programmatic sales as a percentage of total volume, and it says Q3 0.17, Q2 0.125. But go to Ripple's website. They've got the Q3. They've got all of these reports on their site right now. And so the guy that wrote me that email, I don't have your email in front of me, so I'm sorry I don't remember your name. This is the answer to your question right here. They've got it all. They got all the numbers, all of the information right here. So I read through it, but I don't want to bore you all with all these finite numbers, but it's all here. I mean, these are all things. These guys, Ripple has not only been the sharpest group of people to follow for the last few years, but they have every box checked. I mean, around every corner, these guys have knocked the ball out of the park. And so I'm going to finish by giving you one of my little analogies from one of my favorite baseball movies that I bring up all the time. Now, I've had my YouTube channel going. I have found myself in a position recently of literally having to encourage some actual YouTubers that have been in the space and other people that are influencers in the space recently. Maybe it's because I'm a little older that I'm more unaffected by all this. Maybe it's because I've seen how markets work and have a lot of experience in watching how markets work. But here, the analogy that I wanted to go over with you is there's a lot of people in the crypto space and the XRP space who have really gotten negative, and they get in fights on Twitter and all this, and I try to stay out of all of that business. But I've seen a lot of people that get discouraged, and the truth of the matter is, what I always go back to is I think C3 Nick said it. I think you can't enjoy these thousands of percent jumps in values that is crypto if you can't take these 90% downs. I mean, I saw another tweet today about how Ripple went up last year 38,000%, and everybody's crying because it went down 90% so far this year. Well, guess what? That's nothing. But I wanted to make this analogy. And for those of you that have not seen Moneyball, go watch Moneyball. It's awesome. And I'm going to summarize it probably for the third or fourth time. I love it so much. Not a big summary, don't worry. But the bottom line is, in this movie, they're changing the game of baseball by using numbers and calculating. And this hits home with me because I see it every day. In baseball with my sons, I see kids given credit for being good that if you actually peel back the numbers, they're not good at all. I see it every day. And it's a very frustrating thing. In fact, I look forward. One of the main questions that I ask all these baseball gurus in my town all the time is, when are we going to start keeping up with numbers so that kids that aren't as good as they're claimed to be stop getting credit and stop getting play time that they don't deserve? Because what happens is anytime there's money involved in things, or daddy balls going on, there's unfair play. And I'm trying to teach my sons that if you outwork everybody over the long haul, you come out on top. There is no such thing as a natural born athlete. That is some of the biggest BS ever created. Maybe there is in certain sports, maybe more like in a basketball or a football. In football, you're either big and huge and strong, or you're really fast. There are guys that are born much faster than everybody, but in baseball, at least, baseball is a repetition sport. And so anyway, this Moneyball analogy I wanted to make is, they were trying to build an A's team because they had much less money than all of the teams like the New York Yankees. And so they decided they would quit doing it. They would quit trying to buy expensive rock star baseball players because they couldn't afford to compete. And so instead, they were using, I believe the guy's name was Bill James, that wrote a book about how most people buy players, but when you should actually be buying runs. And the way you buy runs is you look behind the numbers and you find the players who get on base, who have the best on base percentages. So they built this team. Well, naturally, when you do anything new, whether it's getting into cryptocurrency and trying to conquer the world with XRP or changing the way baseball is played, you catch a lot of flack. And in this movie, the general manager and his assistant manager, played by Brad Pitt and I'm drawing a blank on this guy's name. Shoot, I know the guy's name because I love his movies. I watch him all the time. But maybe it'll come to me in a second. Is it Jonas or anyway? Okay. But anyway, so they're having a conversation in his office right here, and he says the Brad Pitt character, who's the general manager, they're catching a lot of flack because the system that they're trying to employ is not working yet because they're not getting a lot of help from the coach of the A's. And so he won't listen to them based on who to play, based on their numbers and everything. So they're having this conversation, and the general manager, Brad Pitt character, he's talking to me. He says, I don't think we're asking the right question here because you keep apologizing for what we're doing here. He says, do you believe in this thing or not? And I'm here to tell you that the digital asset investor does believe in this thing. And it makes me sick to watch some of these people who were perfectly willing to give their price predictions back in December. They were perfectly willing to tell everybody how huge all this was going to be back then. And now all of a sudden they're coming off of that because they're worried about what they're really worried about is people yelling at them and holding them accountable for, oh, you're making these price predictions. That's hype and this and that. Well, I've never been one of these guys that's going crazy with, oh, it's going to be 589 next week and all that stuff. I've never been that guy. I stick by what I say. Ripple, XRP could easily hit $10 to $15 this year because regardless of the market we've been in, Ripple has had more than one example, more than two examples of when it goes parabolic, it goes parabolic. And as I've told you before, I'm a big picture guy. I do not come off of what I've been saying when it comes to my. I've seen what now everybody in this space. I see people on Twitter. Oh, that's hype. Those same people, they didn't say anything when Miguel Valles said hashtag zero doubt back in January. He said that in January, okay, at the height of the market. Well, Miguel Valles was right. There is zero doubt. And there's zero doubt because we know what Ripple is and we know what XRP is. We know XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created. So if you're going to have zero doubt in January, have the guts to have zero doubt now. The digital asset investor has zero doubt. But I'm not an investment advisor. I'm the digital asset investor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that the digital asset investor has zero doubt. And a huge monster, the bull market of bull markets is coming. The only thing I don't know is exactly when. Thanks for listening.